Well, it looks like the rumors were true about what was going to be in that Indie World presentation, but we also saw a whole bunch of other stuff that we're going to go over. A few things that caught me by surprise. One thing in particular, I'm kind of excited to see what happens because it sounds like they're expanding the game somewhat, mostly because they're going to other platforms. But we're going to go through the games that were in the Indie World presentation that was earlier today. And later on today at 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm planning on streaming. I say streaming because it's always a whole thing when I try to stream, but trying to stream the opening night live that's going to take place for Gamescom. Because so far we've had some pretty good reveals. The Inside Xbox is going on right now, and they had some good stuff in there so far. I'll do that in Newswave tomorrow morning, so make sure you tune in for that at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you missed the one from this morning, go check that one out as well, as there was quite a bit of information. Some of it was technically already revealed here, but let's go over the Indie World presentation. And if you guys enjoy the video, make sure you hit the like button. It does help out quite a bit. We're going to start with Risk of Rain 2. Now, Risk of Rain 2 is a game, I believe, published and everything by Gearbox, and Evan actually has this on Steam, and I have to ask him about it to see what he thinks so far, but it does have full multiplayer. I know it is in early access on Steam, but it's the second game in the series, obviously Risk of Rain 2, and it's like a roguelike type game where you land on a planet and you're trying to solve any of the mysteries and stuff on the planet, fight a bunch of enemies, and then get off of the planet. But it is set up so that you technically learn as you go through and gain new abilities and everything. They showcase that fairly well in the trailer, and I would like to see a bit more about it, but I would have to wait until they said summer worldwide. However, summer's coming to an end soon, so I assume that means it's going to be released in like the next month and a half or so. See, whenever they say these weird like summer or winter release dates, I know it's a window, but we always have a hard time trying to guess when it's going to come out. But so far, it looks kind of neat. Now, some of these trailers were also pretty quick and didn't explain a lot. For example, Eastward was one of those games. It's done by Chucklefish, though, and Chucklefish has had some pretty good games recently, and as far as I can tell, it's an adventure game with a girl that has mysterious powers, action role-playing game. So again, we'll have to see a bit more about that. But then we also had Freedom Finger, which looks weird, yes, but hey, sometimes weird is interesting, right? That's the whole point of these indie games. But that's coming fall 2019 on the Switch, and apparently you control a hand, and you basically go around and snatch up all enemy ships while avoiding bullets. So it's kind of like a bullet shooter, but with ships that you're grabbing. Again, interesting game to see. Roki looked kind of cool. It looks like an atmospheric style game. Again, they didn't really show a lot of it. It's an adventure style game, but I really liked what they did show, kind of the art style and the direction they were going with. And then it followed up with Torchlight 2, which Torchlight 2 is a game I've played. I have it on Steam and everything, and it is a good Diablo-esque style game. Think of like Diablo 2. It's slower than Diablo 3, but if you like that kind of that action RPG kind of isometric view style game, it is pretty good. That's actually coming soon. That's September 3rd. And they do say they're going to have some Switch exclusive pre-order bonuses for it and everything. But that was a fun game, has multiplayer and all of that, and it looks like it's less serious, I would say, than Diablo, just kind of the way they have it set up. But it is a fun kind of looter-style game. Now, here's one of the games I was surprised to see get announced here. That's Skater XL. This was an interesting one. Now, I remember talking before about how it was going to the Xbox One next year. They said 2020, early 2020, I think. And here it is now getting announced for the Switch. I think this is good. I think a lot of that has to do with the Switch not having like a skateboard. Like, there's not a lot of skateboarding games in general, but to see this go to the Switch is cool. A lot of people were kind of looking at it like it looks kind of rough. I'm unsure how this is actually going to play. I have a video. There's a video on this channel of me playing it. I'll link it down below. I got it on Steam Early Access, and I remember I put that video up last Christmas, so it's been a little while. But I enjoyed what they gave us there, but they made me very aware when I went to buy it that it was early access, all right? So it wasn't a game that I was going into expecting everything to be there, but if they release it on console, specifically on the Switch, just as it is now, I think that would be a problem because there's not a lot there right now. There really isn't. It's pretty bare bones the last time I checked. And while the idea of it's cool where you control each foot with a different stick, so like right stick, left stick, and you have to kind of combine them together with motions to do the different tricks, so you kind of know what you're doing as you're going around. I like that idea. I just think there needs to be more there before they attempt to sell it for, I think it was $20 on Steam when I picked it up early access. But hey, I mean, I gave a bunch of feedback then, and it seems like they are taking it, but I hope they're not just rushing this to consoles necessarily just to get it there. I hope they have a plan with more, just more in general, more content, and hopefully like a single player mode and everything, but we'll see what they have for us. As far as we know now, that's just 2020. Europa was up next. This one is, again, another interesting style game that seems to deal with gravity. It's like a puzzle style game, and as you're walking around, gravity will shift, so the camera angle also shifts. Basically, you might be upside down without realizing it, or walking straight up without realizing it, because everything around you moves as you kind of walk around, and gravity is controlled in that manner. So it looks like it might be one of those crazy style games that you kind of lose sense of where you are and your orientation, but those generally can give pretty cool puzzles, so we'll see about that one. Then we had one of the shadow drops, that is Superhot, and Superhot's a really good game. I like this in VR. It's really good on like the PlayStation VR, for example, but this is a game that has to do with time elements and everything, where as you move, time moves. When you stop, it doesn't, and the idea is you go around and you pretty much try to blast through different areas with enemies that are also shooting at you. So you see kind of like the bullets whizzing by. So it has like that like I said, slow motion and everything. And it was always really fun. You can shoot enemies, you can throw the gun at them, and they have it set up kind of like this like polygons and everything are how the characters are displayed. And it's just a really neat style game. It's definitely one of those games that you'll play and it'll really stick out to you as unique. So I would definitely check it out. I believe that's out now, actually. It's $25, so you're gonna have to decide if that's something you want to check out. I'll be checking that out later on today, and I'm sure we'll be giving our thoughts on a lot of this stuff, especially Gamescom and everything. This podcast coming up Saturday night, so make sure you check it out there. Another Dungeon Defenders game is coming, Dungeon Defenders Awaken. This looks to be launching on the Switch first with like a timed exclusivity deal, February 2020. I didn't really play a lot of the Dungeon Defender games, but people did talk about them highly, so people really like them. But I didn't really have much of an opinion on this one. It was just cool to see it, I guess, for people who are fans of the series. And at that point, you can pick it up on the Switch. It says February 2020, and then I assume it's going to go to other platforms after that. How long, I'm not really sure. So this next one is interesting because it was Shinen. Shinen is doing this one. It's The Tourist. And I'm not really sure what this game exactly was. It was kind of a neat idea, but it's like these blocky graphics, like the characters are like blocks and everything almost. Actually, looking back at the trailer now that I'm seeing it again, it reminds me kind of like 3D Dot Game Heroes. It looks like you're going on adventures, there's puzzles. It's kind of like it looks kind of like almost like a Zelda style game, but I don't really know much else about it. November 2019 is when it's coming out, so it'll be out in a couple of months, and it's Shinen, so I'll at least give them a try here and see what we have. But it definitely caught my eye. Next up, we had Skellboy. It's an action-adventure style game. I'm moving kind of quickly through this just because there was so much stuff here. Like, there really was. If I spent a couple minutes, like 5 minutes on each thing, it'd be like 30, 40 minutes long. But Skellboy was up next. And this one looked kind of neat because it looked like there was a lot of stuff going on in it with customization. But it is an action-adventure style game, and it's a 2D, 3D style game. And that's coming out December 3rd. We also had an interesting-looking platforming game called Earth Knight, and then followed up from there, we go into the Hotline Miami collection, and that is out today. That's the second shadow drop. It makes sense with what Daniel Ahmad was saying about 2 hot games, Hotline Miami, Superhot. That makes sense. The collection is pretty neat. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that. People got really excited about the thought of it yesterday, and here we are now with the collection being out on the eShop. I believe that one is also $25, but you can go pick that one up. And then it rolled right into the final reveal, which I figured they were either going to lead off with it or they were going to close with it. Seems they closed with it. And that is Ori and the Blind Forest. Yes, Ori is coming to the Switch, and this is pretty big. It's another Xbox game, right? It's another game that Microsoft is moving over, and I'm not really surprised to see this because a lot of us figured this was happening after Nate talked about it in February, so it's been quite a while. This is coming September 27th. It's Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition, and that's going to go over really well on the Switch. When they announced it, Twitter really blew up, and they were posting on Twitter, and people were really excited for it, and this is a perfect fit for the Switch. Now, if you've never played Ori, it's an awesome 2D style game, and I think everyone should give it a shot if you enjoy those style games. But the music is great, the atmosphere is great, and the overall gameplay is really good as well. So there's a reason people really like this game, and it's mostly because of how it's played and the atmosphere that they present. So I recommend checking it out. But it is interesting to see this because this means that Microsoft seems more and more getting more and more investable, say, in Nintendo and the Switch, and it makes you wonder if is this it? Like, Super Lucky's Tale has already moved over. All of the smaller games at this point have kind of moved over, except for maybe like an Age of Empires, right? Or like a Gears of War Tactics or something. But a lot of the smaller, I guess we'll say, indie slash AA style games like Cuphead and Ori have moved over. So the next time we hear about a Microsoft game going to the Switch, we assume it would have to be something fairly substantial, like a Halo, or I guess like a Gears of War. But I mean, a Halo Master Chief Collection would be pretty neat, and a lot of those were 360 games anyway, so I'm sure they'd make it work. But yes, Ori and the Blind Forest, awesome game to see. I hope this game does very, very well on the Switch. I'm looking forward to Will o' the Wisps. I think that's going to be great next year. And we'll see if, hey, they even announce a Switch version of that game in time for release. If not, I guess at this point it'll probably come afterwards. But what a great way to end this indie presentation. I think overall it was pretty good. I went through it kind of fast just because there was so much stuff there, but I'll leave a link to their overall indie presentation down below. They left it up, so you can also check it out just in case there was something you want to learn a bit more about. And I believe a lot of PR sheets and everything are going out, so there'll be more information really starting to pop up on different websites that you visit. So make sure you read up on some of these indie games to see if they're for you. And some of them I'll also be checking out. Specifically, like I said, Superhot. I'm curious how that plays and everything on the Switch. But thanks guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like the video if you enjoyed it, dislike it. If not, make sure you subscribe, because with Gamescom rolling along right now, there's a lot of information out there, and I'm going to try to be putting as much of it as I can into Newswave over the next week or so. So make sure you're tuned in so you can catch everything. And I'll see you guys next time.